And if I told you that there is a side of life after death that Spiritist books even mention, but that holds such strong details that they are rarely discussed openly, I'm talking about the Umbral. Not that vague idea of a place of suffering, but of its deepest and most disturbing secrets, described with rich detail by serious spirits, such as André Luiz through the psychography of Chico Xavier. Places that challenge our understanding, where the rules are distorting and the very notion of reality unravels. Prepare yourself, because what you will discover today will forever change the way you see the consequences of your choices. The journey is heavy, but it all begins with an illusion, a perfect trap for lost souls.
And then, what is the first great illusion of the other world? Imagine you arrive from the other side of life, still bound to your vices, your anger, your lowest desires. You expect suffering, darkness, punishment, but instead you find exactly what you most wanted. It is so. Based on the detailed descriptions of the spirit André Luiz in the book Our Home, psychographed by Chico Xavier, many souls that die with strong material attachments are received by a demonic trap, the illusion of satisfaction.
Think of a man who lived only for alcohol. In the Umbral, he doesn't find an arid desert. He finds, designed by his own sick thought and the energy of millions of spirits in the same tune, an eternal tavern. The bottles are always full, the drinking companions are always there. The drink never runs out. For an obsessive gambler, a dazzling casino appears, with the noise of chips and the promise of fortune with the turn of the card. For someone obsessed with luxury, a palace full of servants may appear. They think they have won the system. They think they have found their particular paradise, where they can satisfy their desires forever, without the limitations of the physical body. But here is the macabre secret. This paradise is an imprisonment of stagnant energy. All of that is a collective projection, a mental bubble created by the sick minds that inhabit that space. The drink does not satisfy. It only maintains the illusion of intoxication and the agonizing need to drink more. The money in the casino has no real value. It is just an empty shell that feeds the anxiety of the next bet. They are trapped in an infinite loop of their own addiction without ever achieving true satisfaction, only the empty echo of desire. They do not perceive the real spiritual landscape around them, the darkness, the feeling of oppression, the distorted forms of other spirits who have also fallen into the same trap.
The worst part is that this zone of illusion has owners, spirits much older and more intelligent, but hardened in evil, who feed on this energy of despair and addiction. They maintain the charade because a deceived soul is a paralyzed soul that does not seek to leave, that does not evolve. It's like a farm where the beings are cattle, trapped by their own ignorance. Freedom is the greatest lie. And what keeps this illusion standing? The strength of one's own thought, their unshakable attachment to those coarse sensations. As long as she believes that it is good and real, she is condemned to live in that mirage. But when the feature falls, every illusion, no matter how well constructed it may be, one day shows its cracks. The drink begins to taste of gray. The supposed friends from the bar show their true faces, full of malice and betrayal. The palace reveals itself as a dirty, cold shack. It is in this moment of despair, when the paradise collapses, that the soul faces the reality of the hole where it fell. And it is there that the next secret, much darker, is revealed. Because when the curtain of illusion falls, you don't find redemption. You find yourself, alone, in the most absolute and terrible solitude. And it is in this solitude that the true horrors begin. And then the illusion ends. The bar closes, the casino lights go out, and the soul is completely alone, face to face with the pure consequence of its actions. This is the moment when the second secret of the Umbral is revealed. Solitude is not just a lack of company. It is a torture chamber built by one's own conscience. And to understand this, we need to talk about a shocking and fundamental work, Memories of a Suicide, psychographed by Yvonne Pereira. Through this account, we have the descent to one of the most painful circles of this underworld. The book does not speak of an inferno with fire and demons with horns. It describes something much more terrifying: private prisons. Imagine a person who committed suicide in a moment of profound despair or egoism. Upon passing away, she will not go to a generic place, the bridge from which she jumped, the place of the crime against herself. Only now there is no body to feel physical pain. There is only the consciousness, hyperactive, feeling in the soul incessantly, the anguish, the remorse, and the panic of the final moment. And she stays there, alone, for a time that seems like an eternity, reliving that instant in loop, without being able to escape, without anyone to hear her screams. The solitude is absolute, and the suffering, a fine needle touching always the same point of the soul. And the demons? Forget the mythological creatures. The third secret is that the real executioners, the commanders of these regions, are spirits who were once human like us. They are our brothers who, over many lives, had hardened in evil, in pride, in cruelty, and in domination over others. They are intelligent, they have a perverse hierarchy, and they exercise a terrible power over the most fragile and newly arrived souls. In the book Action and Reaction by André Luiz, we see the description of these platoons of obsessive spirits who organize veritable cities of shadows with their own laws and a single objective: to maintain the status quo of suffering and stagnation. They are the living embodiment of the hatred that was not cured, of the vengeance that was not abandoned, of the addiction that transformed into identity.
These beings are not there by chance. They have chosen, through countless acts, that path. And the most disturbing thing is that they maintain an appearance of normalcy among themselves, with power struggles, betrayals, and alliances as petty as those we have here on Earth. They are the extreme reflection of what the human being can become when, life after life, it rejects any glimmer of light. And it is this dark organization that administers suffering, distributes the tasks of obsession, and keeps souls deluded, trapped in their vices. But this leads us to a question that silences us deeply. If these disturbed and full of hatred consciences have so much strength and organization, what prevents all that energy from overflowing and invading our world? Is the boundary between dimensions really so secure?
And this question is the key to the final and most urgent secret of all. The border is not secure. In fact, it hardly exists. The Umbral is not a distant planet. It is a spiritual layer that interpenetrates with our world, as explained by André Luiz in his works. And this means that the dense energy, organized hatred, and the suffering of those regions are not confined there. They influence the here and now, all the time. The spiritual obsession, so studied in Spiritism, is living proof of this. It's not just a troubled spirit disturbing us. Often, it's a direct gateway to these liminal zones. When we cultivate chronic anger, debilitating jealousy, uncontrolled addictions, or sink into a depression covered in rebellion, we ourselves tune our frequency with these regions. We lower our vibrational zip code, and, like a magnet, we attract to us these suffering and disturbing consciousnesses. The book Action and Reaction shows that our actions create true energy cables, wires, that connect us to spirits and planes compatible with what we emit. Therefore, the greatest secret is not about the afterlife as a post-death destination. It is about the afterlife as a parallel reality that we can nourish or deny, today, now, with every thought and every choice. The darkness that we fear outside is first a seed that we water or not within ourselves. The Spiritist doctrine, by revealing these horrors, does not want to terrify us, but to empower us. It gives us the map so that we can navigate these dangerous waters and choose, consciously, to build a different harmony. The choice of which spiritual world we will inhabit tomorrow begins with the thought you are having at this very moment.